and of course fuel consumption. Joining me now in studio are two gentlemen, all from the Trade Ministry, but PS Ambassador Kaberia comes from the Ministry of the State Department for Industrialization particularly, and then MD Bernard Njiraini from KEBS. Gentlemen, good to see you in studio. The big question then now Kenyans are asking themselves is, why the ban, Bwana MD?
Thank you very much, Brian, for inviting me to the studio. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to educate the viewers on the various standards that we have approved as the national standard body. I would like to say that the KEBS 1515-2019 is a code of practice specifying the general safety and environmental requirements for inspection of road vehicles. And this was approved through the normal standard approval in the Kenya Bureau of Standards, through the technical committee involving various stakeholders that agreed on a number of parameters that we need to be checking. It was approved by the National Standard Council and gazetted in 2019. Thereafter, it was also gazetted. It's now in 2020, October, is now mandatory standard, which specifies the level of emission, requirements, which is aligned to the Euro standards, specifying the limits of the emissions that we should meet, and also other details, including the age limits for used vehicles, for various categories of vehicles. And we have aligned this to the, the national automotive policy, which the PS Ambassador Kaberia is going to outline the benefit of that. So as the national standard body, we do the standards that are aligned to the government policies. And this is out of research on what a country requires to do to, first of all, protect our environment, and again, also to be commercially or to be economical. Because as an engineer, I can tell you, equipment, when they are designed and manufactured, they have a life. And we have to look at the optimum level at which we should operate. Because if you acquire a machine after a very long use, then obviously, as a country, you're likely to lose in terms of, the operational cost, the maintenance and all that. You have to keep on buying spare parts, the breakdown, and that, downtime will reduce your productivity. And that is why we are in this discussion on what are the benefits of having newer vehicles vis-a-vis having older vehicles.
We'll come back to the alternatives that the Mwananchi has now, because there are a lot of people who are going to be affected in the logistics industry, transport. But then, Ambassador Kaberia, why the policy right now? And especially, we're looking at Japan being one of the biggest sellers to this market. They control up to 80% of the Kenyan market in terms of supplying some of these goods. How are they taking it from their end?
Thank you, Brian. It is a great opportunity to have this chance to actually discuss this issue, because it has to be understood in the broader picture of industrialization. Every day we are talking about job creation, we're talking about technology transfer, we are talking about empowerment of our youth, and all these things cannot happen if the supporting policies are those that support the development of this industry in other countries. Now, that said, this particular KEBS 1515 is meant to really increase the levels of our locally produced trucks. For example, if you see the increase in locally produced trucks, it moved from 5,000 to over 10,000 when we enacted this in the last year. Also going on to the next level, the level of production of, let's say, buses, passenger buses in this country, the level of technology that comes with it. You can tell, even looking at a bus that is 5 years old and a bus that is a year old today, just from a design point of view, it can tell you that significant enhancement in technology has taken place. If you look at the kind of employment opportunity that is there, and then tie this to the procurement master plan and the preferential procurement list that we have published as part of the support to the industrial place. There are a lot of other parts that are required so that when you are building those vehicles here, there are parts that will be required by law to be made and produced by Kenyans here in Kenya. So in the bigger picture, we have a policy that supports, on the one hand, the capacity to produce these vehicles here and bring this technology, by extension bringing employment. And on the other hand, we are also responding to Kenya's obligation to the world in the global environmental responsibility. Kenya in COP26 has also committed to certain numbers, and that's why you see Euro 4, which has to do with emissions. And Kenya is doing quite well in this. Kenya is known to be a very green country in terms of energy. So when you look at the whole policy holistically, as opposed to just cherry picking a particular aspect of the policy, you will understand that in the bigger picture, it is made to support other policies that benefit Kenya in the bigger picture.
We'll come back to that and talk about the cost effectiveness of that, of course, to the market, supply to the market, and if the government is incentivizing. But let's look at the alternatives, Bana MD, procuring locally. How sustainable is it in this economy?
Thank you, Brian. I want to, before I answer that question, say that the standard that we have unveiled, really, there's no much difference if you look at the data. When you look at the number of commercial passenger vehicles that are available within the country right now, you'll find that we've been, most of the people, out of their own assessment and evaluation, have been buying new vehicles.
True.
Actually, what we've been buying in terms of the buses, mid-buses, mini-buses, other than the 14-seater, most of these vehicles are new. Yeah. So what these standards really does is to enhance the framework within now an understanding where we want to promote the manufacturing sector. And if you look at it closely, you will see the number of companies producing the minibuses, midi-buses. There are quite a number.
Yeah, and this is Mombasa Road here.
Yeah, you will find
very many of them.
Very many of them.
Sure.
So really, this standard is a well negotiated, discussed, where all the stakeholders were involved. We had the KABA, Kenya Auto Bazaar Association.
Sure.
We had the Car Importers Association involved, camera manufacturers, and we all agreed that for now, the sectors for minibuses, midi-buses, and buses, other than the 14-seater, and this will be addressed maybe in future when we see the number of assembled, this 14-seater increasing, and maybe the price is coming down. So we can say most of the people have done their mathematics and have seen that it is economical to get new vehicles rather than the old vehicles. So it is sustainable. It has always been sustainable. And obviously, you cannot get, it is harder to get a financial facility for a second-hand vehicle.
True.
So most of the people, whether they are SMEs, whether they are transporters for food products, they have been buying these vehicles. So I see a lot of sustainability aspect in this.
Amazing. We're running out of time. Yeah. Ambassador Kaberia, talk to us about the cost effectiveness of this, and if you're confident that they're going to meet the supply in the market now that the numbers are looking the way they're looking.
Yes, definitely. You see, always supply chases demand.
True.
And it's not different anywhere in the world, and it is true in Kenya as well. One of the facts here is we are seeing more and more locally born startups and SMEs that are responding to this. From the same stakeholders outreach, before we formed this, for example, we have a lot of other suppliers to the manufacturers, the assemblers, the big guys, Isuzu, for example, Toyota. They are buying from local companies. So to me, I am not worried about the capacity of Kenyans to respond to the market. What I'm most concerned about is for us to understand the value of this, embrace it, and support it as a country, because it is very important for us to ensure that our production continues to grow. And again, let us not allow Kenya to become the dumping point, because he said at one point that it is important to ensure that you have a machine that has a lifespan that is useful. If you buy it towards the end of its shelf life, then you're actually dumping in this country.
Amazing. There you have it. So beginning July, you will not be allowed to purchase second-hand trucks and buses. That is from Ambassador Kaberia from the Industrialization State Department right here in studio talking to us about this. And of course, MD Njiraini from KEBS. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for just giving us perspective on this. We should have more time to expound more and to understand the ins and outs. But that's why we end it right here on Business Cafe. Tomorrow we talk about why there is such a boom in the Airbnb business right here on Business Cafe at 9:30 East African time. I'm Brian Jodetieno. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.